Those were the chants by the pro-Palestinian protesters outside Radio City Music Hall in New York City, while inside the scene looked like this. President Biden held a star-studded fundraiser with former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and a bunch of Hollywood elites. This as New York was still reeling from the murder of another hero cop, Jonathan Diller, and other high-profile acts of violence. To discuss this and many more issues, I am joined now by Republican South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds. Senator Rounds is a member of the Senate Armed Services and Intelligence Committee. Senator, thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate it. Senator, former President Trump stood with the cops and the family of that fallen officer while President Biden played Radio City. Your reaction?
Quite a contrast. On the one hand, we are honoring a fallen hero, and on the other hand, we are looking at individuals who are protesting what is normally a very solid foreign policy where we support one of our best allies, Israel. And here in the middle of it is a president whose foreign policy is absolutely dismal and is causing more problems for our country right now, whether you're talking about the terrible withdrawal plans from Afghanistan to not being a strong supporter of Ukraine at the appropriate times, and then at the same time with Israel actually challenging and pushing Israel at a time in which they have an existential threat. It is not a good picture for the United States.
Yeah, I want to talk about Israel, Senator. President Biden pushing a two-state solution, ceasefires, suggesting very loudly that Israel is indiscriminately killing civilians. The relationship between the United States and Israel is perhaps at its lowest point. You were on the Senate floor as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said this about Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Watch.
Nobody expects Prime Minister Netanyahu to do the things that must be done to break the cycle of violence, to preserve Israel's credibility on the world stage, and to work towards a two-state solution. At this critical juncture, I believe a new election is the only way to allow for a healthy and open decision-making process about the future of Israel.
Senator, was Schumer acting as a proxy for President Biden when he made those remarks that outraged a lot of members of the Jewish community, a lot of people around the world, and certainly folks over in Israel? And what should we be doing now to support Israel against the terrorists?
First of all, we have never had as part of our policy the approach of telling our allies how to run their internal elections or their affairs. We stand strong with Israel. They are our ally. What Senator Schumer did was a shock to me. I had no expectation that he would do that. And most certainly it does not bode well for the message that we try to send, which is we do not interfere in our allies' internal affairs. And we most certainly don't try to tell our allies how to run their elections. We don't like it when they come into our country and try to tell us how to run our elections. And we should never set that type of an example for other democracies. Israel is a democracy. They are our ally. We should be supporting them. They just had an existential threat. They've had their 9/11. And in the midst of this, they have Hamas, who is still on the loose. They've said, we're going to go in, we're going to take them out. Can you imagine if Israel would have said something like that to us at the time that President Bush was going after ISIS in the first place? The answer to this is no. This is not good public policy for the United States. We have to be strong with Israel. Any internal discussions that we have with them should be that, leader to leader, not public.
But it is about the politics, it seems. A lot of folks speculate that it is about the election and putting the political ends ahead of good policy and our relationship with Israel. Senator, I want to switch gears to national security here at home. The video that is on your screen was provided by the New York Post. It's just shocking to see a swarm of hundreds of illegal immigrants busting through a razor wire fence down on the Texas border, assaulting several Texas National Guard troops as the numbers of illegal crossings continue to break records. Your colleague, Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, offered an amendment to the appropriations bill last week, which would have prohibited the use of taxpayer funds to secretly fly in illegal migrants from other countries and then resettle them in the United States. Every single Democrat voted against this bill. And I think a lot of folks are saying, when you talk to your colleagues on the other side, when they're off the floor, when the cameras aren't on, what are they saying to justify voting against a measure that is as common sense as that?
First of all, they know better. There are over 9 million illegal entrants into the United States since Joe Biden took office. Over 181,000 more just in the month of February, up over 21% from a year ago. So it's not stopping, it's getting worse. When these individuals illegally try to enter the United States, they are a threat to our southern border. They're a threat to the country because we don't know how many of those folks actually have terrorist intent. What we do know is that they have a lot of getaways. These are the folks that we never catch that get into our country from our southern border. The thing that we've got to continue to send a message on is that if the Democrats and behind the scenes they will tell you that they know that they've got a problem and they know that Joe Biden's policies are wrong. They understand that, but you have to understand that they have a base, or a Democrat base, that wants more immigrants into the United States. And if they can't come in legally, then they want them to come in illegally. Some of them believe that in doing so, they can actually change the electoral process by having these individuals counted in those areas where they need more in order to strengthen the House of the House of Representatives with more Democrats and Republicans in those districts. But overall, it's a matter of a very broken system on the southern border. And the vast majority of this could be fixed by Joe Biden tomorrow. He had over 53 separate executive orders that he's put in place that countermanded what the previous administration had done. And all he's got to do with those is to start undoing the executive orders that he's already done. He can make a heck of a difference on the southern border.
Senator, exit question for you real quick. I mean, when you look at the southern border, when you look at the crime, when you look at our relationship with Israel and the state of affairs around the world, clearly, if you look at the data, things were better off under the last administration. When do you anticipate that you will endorse the presumptive nominee, Republican nominee for President Donald Trump?
Yeah, I've always said that I would support the Republican nominee for the presidency. Look, Joe Biden's policies clearly have failed. Groceries, just as an example, they're up over 21% from where they were when Joe Biden took office. Under the previous administration, we had inflation under control. Under Biden's administration, all policies, all groceries, all fuel and so forth is up over 18% on an average. So we need to get back to a Republican in the White House. We would expect that the Republicans can win this, but one of the main reasons for it is because of Joe Biden's terrible policies. Americans are going to come back in and they're going to have a conservative in the White House.
But you're supporting President Trump.
In South Dakota, he's going to get over 70% of the Republican vote, over 60% of the vote in the general election. So we feel very comfortable that we're going to win this election.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Senator Mike Rounds, appreciate you making time for us today. Thank you.
Thank you.